Okay, so if I could invite everyone to take your seats, and we're just about to start our last session of the morning. Before we begin the session, there were just a couple of quick housekeeping items that the organizers wanted me to let you know about, which is that any of the presentations that you might have wanted from day one are now uploaded onto the event website, which is just up here on the slide. As well, if you're looking for photos, whether they're from any of the speakers or the panel discussions or the social interactions, we would invite you to also visit the website. You'll be able to download it there. So it's now my pleasure to move into the next session, which proves to be a very interesting one. And we've got a number of experienced speakers to talk about what I believe to be an incredibly pressing issue when we're talking about the role that digital services and particularly, in my view, mobile can play in really generating benefits for society as a whole. So this session is on digital financial services and mobile money. I'll be moderating the session, and my name is Austin Maynes from the GSMA. So before we begin, I know we had a couple of interactive sessions yesterday, so perhaps if you would all be willing to join in this survey, very, very simple one. How many people in the room today have a bank account? You just show of hands. A bank account. Yes. And maybe a second more interesting question is, how many of you that have a bank account have a branch or an ATM within, say, about 10 minutes of your home? So it's a fairly large number. But what we're here to talk about today is primarily those that do not. So there are 2 billion people worldwide that do not use formal financial services. And that accounts for 38% of adults, which when you think about it is a relatively staggering number. And there are also other factors to keep in mind in this discussion, which is that gender plays a big role in this as well. If you look in developing countries, the difference between men and women is approximately another 10%. Now, reasons for that could include questions that are related to cost, but also I asked about the 10-minute radius from your home, because sometimes we don't consider the fact that just travel related to going to access these financial services can represent a major burden and barrier for many people to be able to open a bank account or use financial services. And additionally, for those who have opened bank accounts in the past, I know myself moving from Canada to Hong Kong 4 years ago, just opening a bank account in Hong Kong and the amount of paperwork that was required and documentation, it was incredibly difficult, and that's coming from a very advanced economy to another very advanced economy. Yesterday, we also talked about questions of scale. That scale is so important. And that for many people here in the room who are coming from business background, whether it's operator or ecosystem, and cities provide some of that scale. So the business case for being able to deliver financial services in urban centers is quite strong. But the same way that we can see that there could be some barriers in rolling out connectivity into remote or rural underserved populations, you can have some of those same barriers to business cases for the delivery of formal financial services. Digital financial services then are really about providing options for access and ultimately ensuring that all citizens have the opportunity to participate meaningfully in the growth of a digital economy or in a digital society. So financial inclusion is one of the key tenets to providing a digital society in the same way that we talk about digital inclusion. So we have 5 speakers here today who are going to be able to provide you with a really interesting overview, coming both from the operator side, coming from more of an analytic side, from the GSMA side, as well as from that international organization perspective. So without any further ado, it's my pleasure to invite to the stage our first speaker for the panel, Mr. Dominic Arena, who is the Group Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer from Axiata Group. Dominic.
My slides come up while I'm waiting. Good morning, Dominic's my name. In the next 15 minutes I'll be giving you an operator perspective of financial inclusion, mobile financial services, or digital financial services as a whole. So firstly, very quickly, because many of you may not know, who is Axiata Group? I was in Barcelona in February and a number of people asked me this question. We are the number 2 telecom group in South and Southeast Asia. So we operate in 10 countries. You can see the countries up there. We have around about 290 million customers, and therefore we're going to give today an operating perspective from financial inclusion, mobile financial services. Just a few of our numbers. We have over $5 billion revenue business, as I said, 25,000 employees, and overall we've invested $30 billion in the region in terms of invested capital across our operating companies. Those are the markets. Given the time, you'll probably get this slide pack later, so you can look at all the detail of where we are. We're essentially number 1 or number 2 in most of our markets, and number 3 in 2 of our markets being India and Singapore. Now, in terms of why we are really so interested, we have a lot of CSR initiatives we do. We are very concerned with national development, economic development, inclusion on many fronts. So, as I said, we've invested over $30 billion, and we represent more than 1% of GDP on average in terms of the markets in which we operate. We're the highest taxpayer in many countries where we operate as well. So, mobile financial services. What do we mean? And where is the opportunity in mobile financial services? Well, I think, number 1, it's definitely from a inclusion perspective extremely attractive, but also from a commercial perspective. So we're an operator, we have to think of that too. It's also very attractive. So we believe that in terms of money alone, which is one of the 4 pillars I'll talk about in financial services, it's going to be a $320 billion business with around 200 million users over the next 5 years. In terms of formal banking penetration, as I'll talk about, and I'll go to the charts in a second, there is a huge unbanked but also underbanked population. And what we mean by underbanked is there are a couple of different figures you might see. Some will tell you that, well, there's 70% of people are banked or 60% are banked, but underbanked, then the figure drops markedly. And those that don't have formal participation in the economy because mobile point-of-sale services aren't available to small vendors. It's quite critical in our region where 90% of businesses are small and medium businesses. So there's a very small number of large enterprises. So mobile financial services, MPOS, I'll talk about a little bit as well. So just getting into it, we see 4 major pillars of digital financial services. I put mobile in brackets because mobile is mobile first in our regions, yes, but it's also accessible in other ways. Mobile money, typical P2P money transfers, payments, etc. Insurance, which is an area that we offer with one of our partners, Beamer Insurance as well. Mobile savings, which is an emerging area, and mobile credit. So you've probably heard about many peer-to-peer lending platforms, investments in fintech in the recent months and over the last year or 2 in particular in that area. So in terms of these, I guess the bottom of the pyramid, which is a lot more mature, is remittance and payments, and I'll talk a lot about that because that's really the big area. And then when we start moving up the pyramid, we're looking into things like P2P borrowing, investment, long-term savings, as well as insurance for foreign workers, even potentially unregistered foreign workers. So in terms of money, it's especially attractive from a financial inclusion perspective, and obviously people are using financial institutions, traditional channels today to send money home. And overall, there's about $1.4 trillion in terms of money being transacted, or we believe will be transacted in the next 5 years. So it's around $700 billion today. In Asia Pacific alone, we believe that it'll be a $300 billion market, by 2020. And we will, in Asia Pacific, we'll comprise about 30% of that in total in terms of users. So when I talk about unbanked or underbanked, the figures I show here are what I call underbanked figures. Okay, so on average, around 70% of the population is underbanked, especially in the regions where we operate. And I've highlighted on the right-hand side the regions where we operate as an operator. So if you look at Cambodia, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, we have a huge both unbanked and underbanked population. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that what's interesting is, as you've seen in Africa with Vodafone's M-Pesa, the access to basic mobile money services doesn't actually need a smartphone. You can do it by USSD, by SMS, you can use feature phone to access. So actually, if you look at mobile penetration, so if you look at 30% being the figure today of banked population, 25-30% properly banked, we could get up to 60-70%, even 80% of better banked or better participating in the formal economy, even without smartphones. Now today in our market, smartphones on average are 40-50% penetration. We firmly believe by 2020 they'll be 100%. So even now we can get to 78% of better banked and better formally included participants in the economy. But by 2020 there's no reason why we can't have 100% inclusion in the economy. Of course, subject to regulation and the business model, which may or may not require us to work with financial institutions or for them to work with us, etc. Conceptually speaking, I put this slide, I left a lot of numbers off this slide on purpose. Why? Because I want to look at three key points, data points. One is the 25% point. So the 25% point is where traditional banking has gotten us in terms of financial inclusion. It's gotten us to a point of around 25% real proper financial inclusion. That means people from the lowest, from the lowest level of the pyramid to the top, having access to transaction services, payments, remittances, insurance, credit, and participation in the formal economy in terms of taxation, etc. as well. The second point is, if we look at our model now, what we've done in many of our markets for telecom agents is we've turned every single agent into a walking cash in, cash out point, at least from an airtime credit perspective, buying voice and data minutes. You can walk down the street in Bangladesh to your local agent, and on the spot, without a smartphone, he can transfer you credit in and out in terms of mobile services. Okay, so from that point of view, we've also in some of our markets like Sri Lanka been very successful in turning those agents as well into cash in, cash out points. And we're also doing it in Bangladesh to a degree with our partnership there, where you can go to that person and you can transfer them some money digitally, they give you some cash, or other way around, you give them some cash and they put it into the account digitally for you. So we could get to potentially 50%, better financial inclusion by using our agency model, which financial institutions don't have that access to. So they're coming at it from a different perspective. And then when we look at further down the road, particularly when smartphones and richer services require smartphones in the next 5 years, we can get to probably a level of 80% financial inclusion through mobile digital financial services. So it's a huge progression we can make by having telecom operators either working independently or together with legacy financial institutions launching services and supported by regulation. This is probably quite powerful in terms of overall looking at the numbers in the markets where we operate. So the three columns represent what proportion of the base of customers, or population I should say, has a credit card, roughly 3% or so. What proportion is banked? So if you look at the case of Sri Lanka, for example, we have about 3% credit card population, 31% banked, and around 38% smartphone penetration. So not a huge uplift, but when we look at even more developed markets like Malaysia, there's a massive difference. So in Malaysia, we have around 17% credit card penetration. Banked population, though, property banked is only around 34%. And then smartphone penetration is 89%. So when you consider the opportunity for having digital mobile financial services to customers based on a smartphone or even a feature phone, the uplift is huge. In many of these markets, you will see that the access to credit cards is quite a barrier to making certain purchases. In Cambodia now with our operator Smart, we have launched a virtual MasterCard number service. So basically you can go on the App Store as a prepaid customer who doesn't have a credit card, and through the process you get a virtual MasterCard number that allows you to buy, for example, on the App Store, through us as the operator. So these are some of the things we're working on. I'm just going to skip over this, but what is interesting about remittances is that we believe we can bring huge value to the lowest income earners and bring them into the formal economy. What do I mean by that? Well, the global average today, if you send $200 as a foreign worker back home, you're spending on average around about 7, 8, up to 9% of that in fees to send it back. And if you spend less than $200, it's actually higher because there's fixed fees plus variable fees. So the less you send, the more you pay. Whereas if you look on the right there, and we have specific examples of what we do offer to our customers, we can roughly halve the price or the cost to the customer from a mobile financial services perspective. So the lowest common denominator are able to send that little bit more money back home to their families, which happen to be in largely rural areas, very low income areas, so each dollar makes a big difference. So overall, that potentially is $20 billion of savings to the lowest common denominator, which I think is huge compared to legacy financial institutions. In our own footprint, just to give you an assessment of what the size is, across Axiata's operating companies, we have officially around 15 million registered foreign workers, migrants, but through our own assessment, that number is up to 50 million. Now, I'll give one example that in Malaysia, Nepalese workers, officially around 250,000, something like that, unofficially closer to 600,000 plus. So we have very good insights because we recently bought number one operator in Nepal, and we also have an operator Celcom in Malaysia, so we see a lot of the traffic in terms of calling back traffic and other things, so we have a good insight into that. So there's a huge opportunity, and far more than official statistics will show you. There are a huge number of workers and migrants out there that need support to be included in the economy, and also ways to more efficiently send money back home, and also to gain critical services like insurance. These foreign workers are often the only ones who are earning an income. They have been uninsurable, whereas now what we are doing with our partner Bima Insurance in many of our markets is we're offering insurance to these foreign workers as well. MPOS, so mobile point of sale, is another key area that we believe is a great opportunity. Why? Because in South and Southeast Asia, more than 90% of businesses are small and small single proprietor and small to medium businesses. They don't have access to point of sale terminals for taking electronic payments typically. So you see now a lot of new services like Square, for example, and others that potentially bring the opportunity to provide very low cost, non-traditional point of sale services to these vendors. And that's also important because for them to have to be brought into the formal economy, then to have access to credit services, we need to start this journey of getting them onto digital payments where there is a record of those payments happening, and over time, over generations, that will absolutely help them in terms of lifting them up in the economy. So in terms of being supported by regulation, I think so far there has been good progress. I think in some markets we've seen telcos really lead the way with digital financial services. We've seen M-Pesa, we've seen MTN in Africa. And what I want to talk about though is recently what's happened in France, where we've sort of seen Orange buy a bank. Orange has bought a bank because Orange, from a regulatory perspective, felt they weren't able to offer a full range of digital mobile financial services by being purely a telco. So the regulations is in a way forced them to go and make an acquisition into the financial services space. What's quite interesting here, it's not on the slide, but just this week, 2 pure digital banks have launched around the world. Some of you may know. One is Goldman Sachs, launched a digital-only bank with a $1 minimum deposit, no branches, nothing physical, no fees, purely digital. Second is DBS Bank in India, just launched a digibank. And digibank has a $0 minimum deposit, and it's pure, no fees, and is a pure digital bank. So these are financial institutions moving into and disrupting themselves. And the access tool for us is really the smartphone, the device, and the network service that we provide. So there's a lot going on. In terms of some of our products that we do offer, in Sri Lanka I would highlight as being a real key success of ours as a result of both regulation that has enabled it, as well as the services themselves that we have developed. So Easy Cash is a digital service that we developed in Axiata, in Dialogue specifically, and is now a core platform of ours across the group. Over 20% of our customers in Sri Lanka use Easy Cash. It's a huge number. So that was enabled because regulation in Sri Lanka allowed any individual with the right to know your customer. Anyone was allowed to be a cash in, cash out agent. We were allowed to offer e-money services without any additional regulation or restrictions imposed upon us. So that was a great example of where we've been able to show that when that happens, we can have a huge impact. Whereas in some of our markets, you'll see that we don't yet have huge uptake of digital financial services because we're somewhat limited in what we can offer, or there's some complexity in getting there. I mentioned Bima Insurance before, who's a partner of ours in many markets, and we are also offering insurance services to overseas foreign workers, which is critical. If you think of the single income earner moving over to a country, not much contact with the family, they've never been insurable, never been bankable, but these services are now bringing this to those workers who are making maybe a few dollars a day. This is from a regulatory perspective. I just wanted to show, I guess, 3 areas. Generally, everything is actually moving in a pretty good direction. We have a number of regulators in our markets who have started to liberalise the ability for telcos to provide cash in, cash out, P2P services, but we're still at the bottom of the pyramid. We're not at the point where we're going to be able to offer deposits. We can't offer at this point savings schemes. We can't offer insurance on our own. We can't offer credit services. So these are things that we still need to work on, but generally there has been progress in many of the markets where we operate. One thing I noticed that Austin asked us in a survey before, I would like to just ask a quick survey with the 30 seconds I have left, is how many people here, put your hand up, if your bank has your fingerprint and knows you biometrically? 2 people. Okay, and those who do know, in Bangladesh, today, every single prepaid customer has to be biometrically authorised. And so, and it's a credit to the telecom regulator, I guess, in a way, who's done this. So now the telco and the regulator knows more about you biometrically than your bank does. So logically speaking, there is a logical path to have telcos. This is not just Bangladesh, I just want to highlight that because it's one really extreme case, but prepaid registration has become massively popular and critical. Therefore, telcos now often know a lot more about who you are and where you are as a customer than even your bank does. Okay? So just finally, I'll end on this, is that there has been a huge investment, even just in the past year, in what they call now fintech, which we've always called mobile financial services for a while. It has a new sexy name. $3.5 billion last year alone, which was 4 times the year before in terms of investments. It's an unstoppable force. It's coming. Banks are concerned. They're disrupting themselves. Even just this week, you read the papers in Thailand. One of the central bank representatives said that there's been 9 applications for P2P lending services from non-bank providers already submitted. And they're holding back on what to do with those at the moment. And even commercial banks here saying, look, we're concerned about regulation because we know that non-traditional providers like telcos can do it at lower cost because they don't have the core banking system legacy, they don't have the infrastructure legacy, so there's a concern amongst banks. But from that perspective, I'll end on saying that banks are not our enemy. I think we can work together, but we have the logical tool in everybody's hand today that can provide inclusion and better bank those underbanked or unbanked individuals. So thank you very much.
Thanks again, Dominic, for sharing experiences from across Axiata's quite large footprint in the Asia-Pacific region. So our next speaker also has a great deal of experience in the delivery of global financial services in Asia-Pacific. He's currently the CEO of Wave Money in Myanmar. I'd like you to give a warm welcome to Mr. Brad Jones.
Okay, good morning. Just wait for my slides to come up. Okay, it's a great pleasure to speak with you today. I'm going to talk and tell you a little bit of a story about wave money in Myanmar. I won't have a lot of statistics. I really want to paint more of a picture of the Myanmar market and particularly what's happening there at the moment. So, okay, just a little bit about wave money. So wave money is a joint venture that's been established between Telenor Group, and Yoma Bank. Yoma Bank are the fourth largest bank in Myanmar, and Telenor Group, or Telenor Myanmar is now the second biggest operator in Myanmar. We have a mass market focus. We're looking to provide mobile financial services to the mass market of Myanmar, and we're going to be very focused when we first launch our product. It's going to be very focused really around account-to-account transfers and over-the-counter transfers. We've actually been in a period, we've worked closely with the central bank over the last 12 months, and we've actually been very pleased with the central bank in Myanmar with the way they've actually taken a risk-based approach to mobile financial services. And we have permission from the central bank to do a period of commercial testing whilst the regulatory regime was actually finalised. So that commercial testing has been going on for some time now, and we're now sitting about 3,500 agents, and we're waiting now for a full licence to be approved, which we're actually hoping will happen very shortly, and from there we'll actually do a full commercial launch. We've learned a lot in the last few months as we've been going through this commercial testing process, which has enabled us to really adapt the product and adapt the way we're approaching the market. Just a little bit about the regulatory regime in Myanmar. There's a huge amount of interest in Myanmar at the moment around mobile financial services. Our estimate at scale, or not at scale, but certainly when all the providers that we think are going to launch will launch, is that there'll be about 11 or 12 different operators offering these services, both from banks, non-banking financial institutions, and the mobile operators themselves. To enable that from a regulatory perspective, there are now two regulations that have been enshrined in law in Myanmar. So the first one was the mobile banking law, which was released in 2013, which allows banks and subsidiaries or partners of banks to offer mobile financial services. And the second one is the mobile financial services regulation, which was released about a month ago, which allows mobile operators and subsidiaries or other people who want to become non-banking financial institutions to offer the services. The regulations are largely similar. There's a few differences around limits and a few different other things. The major difference is that under the mobile financial services regulation, which will be licensed under, wave money will be directly licensed by the central bank. The customers will be customers of wave money and not customers of the bank. So from our perspective, that's actually a much better way to actually regulate, because the value for wave money is in the licenses and the customers that we have. So that of course sits within the entity, and we have that direct relationship with the central bank. That's a little bit of background. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit of a story about what we think makes the Myanmar market really, really interesting for mobile money. So I've worked in a lot of different markets. So I actually launched the first mobile money operation in Cambodia in 2008, and then worked in a number of other markets in Asia Pacific. So I've seen markets that have been tougher from an enablement perspective, and I certainly have to say that Myanmar, I think, out of all the markets I've seen in Asia, probably has the most attractive prospects for mobile money. The first part of that is really very few people are banked, and there's actually significant distrust in the banking system, really from many instances of bank failures over the years, and nationalisation of banks and so on. So really, this is a survey recently done by the UNCDF. Only about 6% of people in Myanmar you could really call banked. 94% are effectively unbanked. The banks actually, a lot of people enter banks to do domestic remittances, but very few people actually have savings accounts and loans. The next really interesting thing about Myanmar is that it has extremely low branch penetration. So the branch penetration in Myanmar is akin to countries such as South Sudan, Afghanistan, and Haiti, at about 3.1 branches per 100,000 people. To give you an idea of that against, say, a market like Thailand, the statistic in Thailand is 12 branches per 100,000 people. So if the Myanmar banks were going to actually really drive branch distribution as a method of financial inclusion, they'd have to build about another 4,000 banks. And about $1 million per bank, that's really $3 to $4 billion in investment. I just can't see banks making $1 million to really make up those numbers. This has really been a really interesting success story about Myanmar in the last 2 years. I think most people will have heard that Myanmar, the Ministry of Communications in Myanmar, ran a very good process where they opened up licenses to foreign companies. 2 foreign companies already doing Telenor 1 licenses. They just had a fourth process where VHL was 1 license as well. And what it's done is actually created an absolute digital revolution in Myanmar. So Telenor announced its first quarter results yesterday. It's now sitting at 15.5 million subscribers with an ARPU around $5 US. So that's happened in basically 7 quarters. So they're now cash flow positive after 7 quarters. So Telenor has had an extraordinary success in Myanmar, and it just shows really the latent demand that's been there for telecommunication services. So I'm sure everyone's heard the story that 3 or 4 years ago, the SIM card was costing anywhere up to $2,000 or $3,000 in Myanmar. Now the SIM cards are basically around about the $1.50 mark. And the fourth thing, and this is really what gets me very excited as someone who's worked in mobile money for a while now. Smartphone penetration in Myanmar is absolutely extraordinary. So it's really sitting now, in terms of actually people using smartphones, we've certainly talked about smartphone penetration in the markets that actually are already. It's sitting anywhere between 60 to 70%. The underlying fact in Myanmar is that because so few SIM cards have been issued by the incumbent before the market was opened up, there was no secondary market for feature phones. So they just didn't exist in the market. So smartphones came in from China. They've come in at price points anywhere as low as $30 to $40, and just about everyone has a smartphone. But the really exciting part of that is that there's also a very high usage of data corresponding with smartphone penetration. So in Telenor's results yesterday, the first quarter, they announced that it's now about 52% of Telenor users are using smartphones, are using data on a regular basis. So as a mobile money practitioner, what this does for us, it excites us hugely about the ability to really improve the customer experience. I mean, if anyone's ever used a mobile money service or you're using it through USSD and SMS, it's actually not a very easy or attractive process. But the ability to actually use digital tools to actually access mobile money for the unbanked is a real game changer, and we're very excited about that there. To that end, we've actually been looking very closely at the way we do our design. We're testing a customer app currently. We went through a human-centered design process for that, where we started with ideation, we then did paper prototyping, we then did technical prototyping before we got to our final result. I was involved with the whole process. We actually set out with rice farmers, with tea shop owners, and with people who are all using smartphones, all using data, and actually gave them the opportunity to use the tools in a prototype way. The very exciting thing for us out of that is that we've all heard the term digital natives. Myanmar smartphone users are digital natives. They may have only had a smartphone for the last 12 months or 18 months, but they've completely leapfrogged to usage of apps and Facebook and Viber and so on. So it's a very exciting market to start to test some of these different solutions. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the 3 areas of focus that we're focusing on in Myanmar as we move towards our full launch. So first and foremost, mass market. I think one of the big insights we've had in Myanmar is that cash is incredibly hard. So the biggest denomination in Myanmar is about $10 and it means, and the usual denominations are around $1. So it means that for any transaction, people have to carry a huge amount of cash. The settlement systems between banks are very poor, so there's a huge requirement for cash to move around the country. Storing the currency is difficult. Basically when people leave the banks, you'll see them leave the banks with huge shopping bags full of cash, and that actually has to be stored at home or stored for transport and so on. Branch hours for banking. So I talked about that bank penetration being extremely low. Coupled with that, branch hours are only open from 9 to 2:30 or 3. So the ability for someone who's actually working to actually leave their work and leave a day's pay and to go to a bank branch to do a transaction is extremely limited. So during our testing stage, we're already seeing that the peak periods of our transactions are actually on weekends and outside banking hours, because that's when people want to transact. They don't want to transact at 10 o'clock in the morning because they're generally working. We've also seen that actually using bank branches, that there's a shame in sending small amounts. So when we're actually looking at the unbanked communities we want to work with, the average remittance we're seeing is probably $30 to $40. They don't want to go to a bank branch and make that size of transaction. It's actually, there's research has told us that they'll feel some shame in actually going and making a small transaction. So the banks want to do larger transactions, and we really look to provide a service that allows those micro transactions to occur. And certainly, if they're not using banks, if they're using informal channels, it's expensive and it's very unreliable. So to give an example, my domestic helper at home had to take money home to her parents a few weeks ago. She disappeared for a day. I asked her where she'd gone. Basically, she had to travel 7 hours on a bus, give them the money and travel 7 hours back. So, and that's a very common way for people to move money around Vietnam, is to actually physically travel to actually take that money. We looked at things around transaction costs, and as we looked at our pricing, we've priced at a point where we think we can actually pay the distribution channel a commission that's actually attractive enough for them to actually do the service, but also how it's priced against substitutes. And when we look at the transaction costs for a money transaction in Myanmar, you often have to look at the transport costs to actually get to the bank branch or to get to the bus stop to actually send the money. And the actual travel time and actually the waiting and inconvenience time. So when we couple that total cost, we think the way we've priced is actually going to be very attractive to the Myanmar consumer. The second focus, and particularly as we start working towards our full launch, is to go out with a very simple offering. I think we just heard Dominic talk about the range of products that mobile financial services can move into, from everything from MPOS to insurance and so on. We're going to have a very simple offering, which is just money transfer to begin with. And we're doing that because we want to actually educate our future customers that we're going to be a very easy service and a very convenient service to move money around the country, and then we'll move on to other products as we start to develop that proposition. Distribution and partnership. So I mentioned before how we have a partnership between Telenor Group and Yoma Bank. Telenor have gone from 0 to 15.5 million customers in 7 quarters. The only way they've possibly been able to do that is by really having the best distribution network in the country. They're now sitting at about 100,000 points of sale, but they work on a cluster model where they have distributors right down to the township level. And that's enabled them successfully to really drive recharge and SIM cards down to almost every part of Myanmar. The other big challenge in doing a mobile money service is actually just distribution and cash management of the e-money. And this is where we've really been able to leverage our partner. Cash management, as we know it from a banking service, doesn't really exist in Myanmar. So the ability for someone to go pick up cash from a distributor or from a factory or whatever, and actually manage that cash back to the bank branch, our partners had to build that capability. So we now have the ability for Yoma Bank to actually go and physically pick up cash and immediately credit them with e-money to almost every one of our distributors in the country, and then the distributors have the ability to push that e-money down into the point of sale, where we're actually leveraging off the Telenor distribution network. So we think leveraging really the strengths of the 4th biggest bank in the country and leveraging the strengths of the 2nd biggest mobile operator give us a pretty compelling proposition about recycling cash and e-money through the country. So that's basically summarising a little bit about Wave Money, what we're looking to do, and who our owners are and why we think we're going to be successful. A little bit about the Myanmar market and why we think Myanmar is a very, very interesting market, particularly for digital solutions as they start to develop. And just finishing off, so the 3 areas we're looking at and we'll launch with is very much focused on mass market, simple offering, distribution and partnerships. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Brad. I think think it's interesting when we actually start looking at it on a market-by-market basis and really understanding the difference that these types of new services can play in people's day-to-day life. So our next presentation is going to be on breaking down the barriers to mobile money across Asia. That presentation will be done by Michael Yao, Senior Market Analyst from IDC Financial Insights. So I'd welcome Michael up to the stage right now.
Good morning. We've already had some great presentations today. I definitely learned a lot myself about mobile money and how it's shaking out across Asia. So my name is Michael Young. I'm from IDC Financial Insights. I've had spent some time here just now explaining what IDC actually does. At IDC, we are most famous probably for, if you look at the news next time and you see statistics about Apple versus Android and the Samsung battle, okay, at IDC, we are the guys who collect that data. We are probably the experts in the field of technology and tracking technology and how it's used across the globe in different fields. I'm from IDC Financial Insights, which specifically looks at how technology in the financial services sector is used, and that includes mobile payments and mobile wallets and things like that, which I have been tracking for a while. Okay, so what I'm going to be looking at today is the developments in mobile payments across Asia, how Asia is different from what we see in North America and perhaps Western Europe, and some of the ways in which we see both technology and regulation being effective tools in breaking down some of the bottlenecks, some of the barriers, and how regulation is also creating opportunity and new thinking with possibilities with regards to how mobile payments can operate across Asia and globally. Okay. These are our own internal predictions for mobile payments globally. We're seeing 1 trillion by next year. The bulk of mobile payments we reckon will be coming from remote payments. So remote payments, think of this in 2 ways. There's either remote or proximity. Remote payments are things such as WeChat Pay, Line Pay, Alipay, and these are typically related to mobile commerce transactions. Proximity payments. There's a lot of talk about proximity payments in the form of Apple Pay and Samsung Pay, which I think have hit the media a lot. These are the things you should hear about a lot. Apple Pay releasing, Samsung Pay releasing. But on a global scale, and I think especially in Asia, those type of NFC proximity systems are going to play a smaller role in the mobile payments ecosystems that we see. Okay. For a glance, for what we see in Asia. A couple of years ago, we started up on some research with my colleague. I sat down with him. We looked at mobile payments and in general what we thought was going to happen in Asia. We thought, let's take a look first at some proxies, at some things, some factors which we could use to predict what mobile payments is going to look like in the future. We looked at, firstly, credit card penetration, debit card penetration, mapped out across Asia Pacific. And then we took the populations of each market to try and get some sense of scale. So we started to see markets such as Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Korea in the top right-hand corner, and then the massive markets of China and India clustered together around the left-hand corner. So in the left-hand corner means low credit card and debit card penetration as is now. In the top right-hand corner means high credit card and high debit card penetration as of now as well. Now, as we were looking at this, I think the lower left-hand corner probably has about 80 to 90% of the population of Asia Pacific as a region compared to what's out there in the top right-hand corner. I think our theory, our thinking is that are we really going to expect all those markets in the left-hand corner to follow exactly the same development paths in terms of to follow the same development path as markets like Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, this kind of more Western development path. If you look at the growth rates, it might take, 15, 20 years for markets such as even Vietnam, Indonesia to catch up with Australia and Hong Kong if you just look at a pure growth rate. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think those markets are going to progress and move on to a similar model to what we see in Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, or the US and Northern Europe. I think there's great potential for other payments in the meantime to rise to prominence. I think it's likely that those payments are going to be mobile and that they're going to leapfrog past credit card and debit card usage in these regions, and for a number of possible reasons. Okay. Mobile payments in the West are driven mainly by plastic, and we see things such as wallets, we see wallets with NFC payments, credit card emulators and such like. But regardless of the form that they take, in the West, most of the mobile payment developments are being driven by plastic. So they somehow lead back to a credit card or a debit card, and they are acting more as shells or fronts by which the folks can make payments. But in Asia, low credit card adoption, debit card adoption in many markets, and especially the larger population markets of China and India, means there's a shift in focus to other methods. So what we see a lot is mobile wallets, where funds are held in virtual containers for drawing funds out of the bank account, and mobile money efforts as being the big players. We see a variety of different industries offering their own versions. We see third-party-led offerings, such as Alipay, Doku, Paytm in India, China, Indonesia. There are telco-led models, and there are also bank-led models. We're seeing a huge variety of business models and offerings in this region. Okay. I'll skip past that. Okay. So, looking further at the markets of Asia, what we wanted to do was we wanted to see exactly what would happen in each of the major countries. So we took each country, assessed and gave it a score of 20 across 5 major criteria. So we looked at each market, each of the major markets in Asia Pacific. We looked at their financial readiness. That includes features such as cashless payments method, what's the debit card and credit card penetration as of now. We looked at their cultural readiness. We looked at each market. Is there a natural cultural affinity for new types of technology? There are some markets out there which seem to adopt and latch onto new technology faster than others, and they seem to just like technology more than other markets. We looked at regulatory readiness. How has that regulator in that market reacted to new technologies and new ways of business? Some regulators have been quite proactive in trying to clamp down on it. Others have adopted a more wait-and-see approach. Others have been quite encouraging in nurturing an environment for new financial services to take place. We looked at technology readiness, so 3G and 4G infrastructure. And we looked at the actual market need for mobile payments. So what are payments likely to be used for? Is it e-commerce? Is it purchasing goods from the market in the morning, or even investments? Is it micropayment based? What is the ultimate problem that mobile payments are trying to solve in each of the markets? There are some markets out there, such as Japan, which you would think has a very, very high-tech market, but they're still using 90% of cash remote transactions. There isn't a need, there is a need, but there's just internal resistance to using electronic forms of payments. Okay. So we then grouped the markets into clusters depending on their ranks and characteristics. So we came out with three actual clusters and 3 categories of mobile payments that we saw emerging across Asia Pacific region. So we have card payments leaders, which are Hong Kong, South Korea, Singapore, Australia. We have mobile payments leaders, which were Taiwan, Malaysia, China, Thailand. And we have mobile money leaders, which were Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, and India. Now, please note that this ranking from left to right, this does not mean that any country is better or worse than another, and it does not suggest the overall market opportunity or market size. So what this ranking just allowed us to do was to try and sort the countries by category, and this is what we came up with. So this is an explanation of the clusters and their associated characteristics. So when we look at card payments leaders, South Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, these types, they are high-tech and generally high-income markets, which already have high card usage behavior, and it's very, very embedded into their ecosystem and their cultures and their ways of doing payments. So the mobile payments, which are likely to work here, are generally, we feel, going to be more proximity NFC-type systems, which are linked to credit or debit cards. So when there's high credit card and high debit card usage, there isn't that incentive to adopt M-wallets or mobile payments. There's little value gain in adding complications and adding, why I already have a very, very nice credit card and debit card. Why would I go and confuse myself and make things more complex by using a mobile wallet? So we see that kind of thing happening in South Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong. Mobile payments leaders. Now, these are generally middle-income markets such as China, Malaysia, Thailand. middle-income markets which have good technology infrastructure, but which don't yet have very high levels of credit card and debit card usage. So this is where we feel that this whole big push for mobile payments and mobile wallets is going to come in. They will come in to fill in the void for credit cards and debit cards due to their current low penetration. And it's no surprise as well that these markets in general have rising levels and huge growing levels of e-commerce and mobile commerce. Those levels of e-commerce and m-commerce provide another great driver for mobile payments and mobile wallets to take off. Okay, so in these cases, we don't see those systems linked to a credit card, but they would generally be linked to a bank account directly. They are replacements in many ways for credit cards and debit cards due to low penetration rates of those cards at the moment. And lastly, we see mobile money leaders. So these are emerging markets which yet don't have the infrastructure and technology to make internet-based mobile commerce payments through the mobile become a reality just yet. So it's highly likely these models, these markets such as India, Philippines, Vietnam, they're going to adopt peer-to-peer mobile money type systems instead, which probably would utilize SMS or other similar technologies. I've had some discussions here earlier on this morning that maybe this is changing now, maybe even mobile money, which doesn't use the internet, maybe it's quickly going out of style, and internet-based payments will be the total future, but this is done a while ago. Okay. Also, mobile money leaders, they're likely to have mobile money schemes and frameworks which are being supported by government financial inclusion schemes and such like. Okay, so just to add some scale to this, what we're going to have in Asia is markets where we see all three of the major mobile payment types coexisting side by side with each other. This is the region where we're going to see mobile NFC type payments, mobile wallet type payments, mobile money payments, all existing side by side. Sometimes in markets neighboring each other. This is not a region which is a follower, but this is already a leader in terms of mobile payments. WeChat wallet in China last year processed 550 billion compared to PayPal's global total of 250 billion USD across the world. This is already the region where we can see the most happening in mobile payments, and other regions will learn from here. Okay. I'll just give an example of how regulation can perhaps come in and help clean things up and help with some of the pain points that we see. Now, here's a typical mobile payment solution that we see. As of today, before I can start making a mobile payment, I might need to have a certain bank account and be with a certain telco and have a certain phone make before I can even start considering making payments. In certain markets, this may even need me to go to a physical bank branch to fill out a certain form to apply before I can start making payments. So all of these barriers, I have to be with this telco, maybe I need to have this card in this bank, and then I can only use a Samsung phone to do that. It's all a headache. It's all a headache. These compatibilities are ultimately causing big limitations in the overall payments environment and causing friction, which is ultimately limiting the customer base, customer interest, and really holding back the potential of mobile payments. I see examples of this across the region, across all the markets from Singapore to Thailand to Malaysia. So a mobile payment system is launched with great fanfare. I look at all the things that you need, this bank, this telco, this phone, whatever, and then I just basically sit and wait and just waiting to see what happens. I know generally the result is never really that successful. Okay, what can be done instead? I mean, this is an example of here when interoperability is forced, or should I say encouraged by the regulator and other governing bodies. And we've seen examples of this happening already in Asia. Thailand is actually one of the markets recently where this type of interoperability just came online last year. So in Thailand now, the mobile money systems from the three major telcos can now make payments to each other, which is a great development locally. So what happens? The whole customer market opens up, everything works together, and the onus for the customer in the first place to sign up with a mobile money provider is multiplied, and friction across the environment, across the ecosystem is reduced. Customers don't need to worry if they have this or that bank account or this telco. It basically becomes irrelevant at the end of the day, and service providers can focus on differentiating the services in other ways and innovating. So think of this as another example. I mean, back in the day, with Visa and MasterCard had only decided to work with one or two banks and keep their agreements very close, I think we wouldn't have seen anything close to the popularity that they have today. So at that open-minded thinking is going to increase the overall reach of mobile money across the region. Okay. Should I skip that? Okay. Here's another last example. Okay, so how technology and how regulation can really make a difference here. So this is being mentioned today. I think Dominic mentioned earlier about these remittances, but still today when money is sent overseas, much of it, and probably up to 80% globally, is still channeled through the Western Union and other products, which are expensive. Oftentimes they are a security risk to both sender and receiver, as well as a big headache for governments with their security-related issues. We are now in an age where technologies like Ripple and Bitcoin for payments can make these transactions super secure and super fast, and in the process they are disintermediating the need for so many parts in the process and taking a lot of the pain out of that and truly democratizing something which I think should be just as simple as sending money back home to family or loved ones. So here's an example of how that might work. So in this example, I use a technology called Ripple. I'm not going to explain it fully.